welcome back to my channel Tutelage, a guide to learner. Here this is Sriparna. Hope all of you are doing well. So we have already discussed with you all the different modes of teaching aptitude for a long time. It includes nature, objectives, characteristics, and one of the most important level of teaching, basic requirements of teaching, classroom mechanism, etc. So if you have missed my previous session, so please go and check it once. Previous sessions links are attached in my first comment and my description box. Okay, so today we are going to start a new chapter that is research aptitude, and it will help every candidate in preparation of NTA UGC Net paper 1, and it will be equally important for their academic journey, which will start with MPhil or PhD enrollment. And undoubtedly research aptitude is important as it is a part of syllabus of NET exam, and usually there are 5 to 6 questions from these topics. So it should be kept in mind that it is not just important from the exam perspective, but also the knowledge or experience of the research will be helpful in teaching as well. So candidates are or learner are advised to prepare this chapter well, and after the discussion we will move on to the solve some practice question answer session, and all questions from the previous year's papers that are provided at the end of the whole chapter. So let's begin the session and move on the next slide. So here we can see some topics for today's discussion. So the first one is different types of research method. Second topic is steps of research, and which is one of the most important topic of this chapter. And now going to the third one, concept of variables and concept of hypothesis and data collection process. So let's begin the session and move on the main slide. So before going to the discussion of the different types of research method, at first we have to know what do you mean by a research. Okay, so what is the actual meaning of research? Research is basically this word is made up of two terms. First one is re, and the second part, that is search. So re means again or new, okay, and search means to examine closely and carefully. So in simple words, research can be defined as in-depth study of something in search of new some information. Okay, so now going to the different research methods, and we can see there are different types of research methods. We have already discussed in my previous session: descriptive research, experimental research, historical research, and the action research. So if you have missed my previous sessions, so please go and check my previous sessions, because all sessions are very useful to everyone, and those sessions links are available in my first comment and my description box. Okay, so learner, let's move on the different types of research methods discussion. Okay, so move on the next slide. So there are some different types of research methods. So first one is for today's discussion, the first research method, that is ex post facto research, explanatory research, exploratory research, correlational research. And now going to the next slide, and here we can see another research methods, that is quantitative and qualitative, one time longitudinal, time series, cross sectional, panel data research. So now going to the explanation, okay, on different types of research methods. Okay, so now move on to the next slide. So here we can see the first type of research method for this session, that is ex post facto research. So what at first we have to know, what do you mean by a ex post facto research? So ex post facto research is basically a type of quasi experimental research. So it is a type of quasi experimental research. We have already told what do you mean by a experimental research. So this is a kind of a experimental research. So exposed factor research is a substitute of the true experimental research, and it is used to study the association between the variables when the researcher has no control over the independent variable. We have already known there are two variable, and uh, some types of research basically denotes the relationship or the association between the dependent variable and independent variable. So we will discuss it later. What do you mean by a independent and dependent variable? But before going to this type of discussion, so for in the post facto research, basically denotes the association between independent variable and dependent variable when the researcher has no control over the independent variable. That means relationship association between two variables is explained without manipulating the variables. Okay, and it is basically used in social sciences subject like education. Because it helps to study the human behavior. Okay, it helps to study the human behavior, because human behavior cannot be controlled. Okay, for example, we can say a study conducted to know the impact of discipline and the regularity inculcated in students in early schooling years on sincerity in them in later life. So that is the perfect example of the ex post facto research. Basically, it helps to study the association or the relationship between different types of not the different types of basically denotes the association or relationship between two types of variables when there is no manipulating independent variable, because that means the researcher has no control over the independent variable. Clear? So now going to the next research, that is explanatory research. So explanatory research is basically a casual research. Okay, so it is called explanatory research is called casual research or descriptive research. Okay, so basically it is conducted to know the actual reasons of the problem. For the example of the explanatory research is a study or research conducted to know the reasons of the particular problem or situation. So that is deterioration. So, learner, now going to the example of the explanatory research. So, basically, the example that is study conducted to know the particular reason for deterioration of the quality of education. So, basically, it deals with the actual reason of the problem. Okay, so it is called the explanatory research. I think this is clear to everyone. So, now move on to the next slide. So here we can see there are two types of research method. First one is correlational research and second one is time series research. So correlational research is used to study the relationship between two or more variables, and correlation means two events, okay, or two variables that are related. It doesn't mean that one is the cause of the other. For example, the research conducted to study the relation between the number of lectures attended and the marks obtained by a student. So there are no relation. Basically there is not the cause of the other. Okay, so correlational research basically deals with the relationship between two or more variables. Okay, but in the ex post facto research, it is also the deals with the study of the relationship or association between two or more variables, but the researcher has no control over the independent variable. So that is the basic differences between the correlational research and the ex post facto research. So correlational research is used to study the relationship between two or more variables. Okay, both are related to each other. So now move on to the next research type, that is time series research. So what is time series research? Time series research is based on the time series data. 1 minute. Okay, so basically it is based on the time series data. So which is data of a single variable over a period of time. Clear? So the data of single variable is given over a period of time is called the time series research. So what is the example of the time series research? Basically the data on the production of wheat, okay, in India from 1960 to 2022, it will be the perfect example of the time series research. So I think this is clear what do you mean by a time series research. So now going to the next research type, that is cross sectional research and the panel data research. So at first we have to know what is cross sectional research and panel data research, and after that we have to know what is the difference between the time series cross sectional and the panel data research. So in the cross sectional research is based on the cross sectional data, which is a data of single time period for different variables. That is the basic differences between the time series data and the cross sectional data. Okay, for example, in the cross sectional research, data on production of wheat, rice, and pulses in the different states of India in 2020. Okay, so it is a perfect example of the cross sectional data, because in this type of research there are different variables but there is a single time period. Okay, so now going to the second one, that is the panel data research, and it is based on the panel data, which is a data of different variables over a different periods of time. So in this research type there are different variables and different periods of time. For example, data on production of wheat, rice, pulses in different states of India from 1960 to 2022, it will be a perfect example of the panel data research. Basically, it involves different variables over a period of time. Okay, so the time series data involves single variable over a period of time. In the cross sectional data, it involves different variables over a single period of a time, and in the panel data research it involves different variables over a period of time. So that is the basic differences between the time series data, time series research, cross sectional research, and the panel data research. So now going to the next type of research. So that is one time research and longitudinal research. So one time research is conducted in a single period of time, that means one time. Okay, that denotes one time. And now going to the longitudinal research, it is conducted over a period of a time. So one time research deals with studies conducted in a single period of time, and the longitudinal research involves observations of variables over a period of time. So that is the basic differences between one time research and longitudinal research. So now going to the next slide. So learner, here we can see there are another two types of research method, that is quantitative research and the qualitative research. So quantitative research basically focuses on the quantifying the collection and the analysis of data. That means it focuses on the quantity, and qualitative research is relies on the data obtained by researcher from first-hand observation, recordings, interviews. So it focuses on the quality of the research. Okay, so where the different types of data comes from first hand observation, recordings and interview. So that is the basic differences between the quantitative research and the qualitative research. I think this is clear. So now move on to the next slide, and this is the last research method, that is exploratory research. So exploratory research basically helps to explore the research questions that haven't previously been studied in depth. So that is called basically exploratory research. Basically it helps to explore the research type. Okay, basically exploratory research design is called the formulative, sorry, formulative research design. And in this research generally main focus is on exploring the problem or the situation or happenings, and research begins with a broader problem. There is a need for greater flexibility in such research, as with the progress in research in broader problem will be converted into precise one, and new perspective have to be considered. So, in this type of research, the objectives is development of the theory or new ideas, formulating a research problem for an in-depth analysis. So that is called the exploratory research. So basically, in one sentence, in a simple sentence, exploratory research helps to explore the problem or situation that haven't previously been studied in depth. I think this is clear. Okay, so now going to the next topic, that is a variable. What do you mean by a variable and attribute? Okay, so after that, in my next session, we will discuss steps of research. Okay, so now going to the main topic. So at first, we have to know what do you mean by a variable, because we have already told that ex post facto research, correlational research helps to study the relationship or association between two variables. Okay, so independent variable and dependent variable. So now going to the meaning of variable. Okay, so what is variable? Variable is basically is an entity which can be measured, is a variable which can be measured. So that is called the variable. So variable can be measurable, that can be measured. An attribute which cannot be measured, so which is known as attribute. So that is the basic differences between the variable and attribute, because variable can be measured and attributes cannot be measured. Clear? I think this is clear. So due to time, we can't discuss the steps of research and the different types of variables and hypotheses. So we will discuss it later. So, learner, we are done for the today's session. We have already discussed different types of research methods and the meaning of variable, attribute, etc. So, in my next session, we will discuss the different types of variable and the steps of research, and which is one of the most important topic of research aptitude chapter. Okay, so I hope this session will be a very useful to everyone. If you like my session, so do not forget to like, share, comment, and please do some support and subscribe my channel for getting more useful sessions. I will come live again with a new session. Till then, stay tuned. Thank you to all of you from my heart. Happy learning. Keep commenting. Thank you.